at the tallest and shortest players.
Section 1. Record-breaking tournament facts. A historic gathering in North America. Before we zero in on the individual extremes, we really need to take a step back and just appreciate the sheer, unprecedented scale of this upcoming tournament. 1,248. Wow, that is a towering number. It represents the record-breaking total of players heading to the USA, Canada, and Mexico. By expanding to 48 nations, FIFA is officially bringing more athletes to a single tournament than ever before in the history of the sport. And within that massive sea of athletes, we've got a really wild dynamic. Picture this, a staggering 891 completely fresh faces stepping onto the World Cup stage for the very first time. And they're going to be rubbing shoulders and trading tackles with 357 seasoned returning veterans. It's just a massive influx of new blood clashing with established world-class experience. Speaking of veterans, tracking this kind of legendary longevity brings up three names that instantly jump out: Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Guillermo Ochoa. These guys are making absolute history by appearing in their sixth consecutive World Cup tournament, going from 2006 all the way to 2026. That is literally 2 full decades at the absolute pinnacle of global football.
Moving right along to Section 2, the generational age gap, or the veterans and the prodigies. When you have over 1,000 players, you are inevitably going to see different eras clash right there on the same pitch.
Out of all the thousands of professional soccer players in the world, just 22 teenagers under the age of 20 actually made the cut for this tournament. And on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, we have this ultra-exclusive club of just 7 elder statesmen who are over the age of 40. 25. That is the magic number here. More than 25 years separates the absolute oldest and youngest players at this tournament. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. We were talking about an entire quarter of a century difference between athletes competing for the exact same world-class trophy.
Let's pit the absolute extremes of our age gap right against each other. It's wild. We've got Scotland's goalkeeper Craig Gordon coming into the tournament at 43 years and 162 days old. On the other side, Mexico's midfielder Gilberto Mora, who's a mere 17 years and 240 days old. Get this, Craig Gordon was already playing professional football before Mora was even born in October of 2008. Mind-blowing, right?
Gordon is actually leading this sort of golden vanguard of players born in the early to mid-80s who are somehow amazingly still competing at the absolute highest level. Look at the icons right behind him: Cristiano Ronaldo at 41, Guillermo Ochoa at 40, Luka Modric at 40, and Edin Dzeko also 40. Defying father time is practically impossible in modern football, but this elite group proves that experience, elite positioning, and world-class fitness can absolutely keep you in the global spotlight into your 5th decade. Then, on the total flip side, we have the class of 2008. Gilberto Mora leads this incredibly youthful vanguard, followed closely by Hugo Sorturek, Leonard Kahl, Ibrahim Mbaye, and Hamza Abdelkarim, all born in 2008. And you know, this whole teenage wave also includes other massive recent phenoms like Spain's Lamine Yamal and France's Warren Zaire-Emery. These are literally the kids who are going to define the sport for the next 15 years. Okay, let's jump into Section 3, chasing all-time age records and rewriting history. Being the oldest or youngest in a single tournament is an amazing feat for sure, but how does it stack up against a century of World Cup history?
So being the youngest in 2026 is awesome, but Mora is actually rewriting a century of history. By playing in this edition, he becomes the youngest Mexican ever to appear in a World Cup. That shatters a national record that had stood entirely untouched since the very first inaugural World Cup all the way back in 1930. Talk about a game changer.
But what about the older guys? Well, even though Craig Gordon comfortably leads the pack this time around, the all-time crown is actually still out of reach. That legendary historical mark belongs to Egypt's Essam El-Hadary, who took the pitch during the 2018 World Cup at the totally crazy age of 45. So yeah, Gordon is close, but El-Hadary's record is definitely safe for at least another 4 years.
Alright, so we've looked at the fascinating extremes in age, but what about the physical differences out on the pitch? I want you to think about that for a second as we seamlessly shift gears from the dimension of time to the dimension of physical space. That brings us to our final section, number 4, tallest and shortest players, exploring the true physical extremes.
Soccer is a sport that definitely does not demand a single body type, and the 2026 rosters prove this beautifully.
45 centimeters, or for some perspective, nearly 1.5 feet. That is the massive, staggering gap separating the tallest and shortest athletes competing in this tournament. Seriously, just imagine those two extremes standing right next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, waiting for a corner kick.
Here's exactly who we're talking about. Representing the absolute physical ceiling, we have Austria's Florian Wiegli, towering over the competition at a massive 205 centimeters. And on the completely other end of the spectrum, packing a ton of skill into a much smaller frame, is Panama's Cesar Yanis, standing at exactly 160 centimeters.
If we look at the true giants of the tournament, Weigl leads the pack, but he's got some huge company right behind him. Dan Byrne, Stjepan Radičić, and Alvaro Montero all stand at 201 centimeters, with Sasa Kalajdzic rounding it out at 200. Honestly, the field is so packed with tall guys this year that a famously huge player like Australia's Harry Sutar, who's 198 centimeters tall, barely even cracks the top 14.
And yet, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, it becomes incredibly clear that soccer relies heavily on diverse skill sets, things like agility, balance, and pace. Cesar Yanis leads our agile group at 160 centimeters. Then you have guys like Marcelo Flores and Jeremy Ananiza at 164, plus Alberto Quintero and Alejandro Romero Gambara at 165. These players prove time and again that a low center of gravity can be an absolutely lethal weapon out there.
So, what's the big takeaway you should gather from all this? It's that the beautiful game truly accommodates and, frankly, celebrates every single body type and age. Whether you're a 17-year-old prodigy, a 43-year-old veteran, a 160-centimeter speedster, or a 205-centimeter giant, when that whistle blows, the pitch is the ultimate equalizer, and pure talent takes over. Which leaves us with one massive, provocative question. Which of these extreme record breakers is actually going to make the biggest impact in 2026? Will a veteran's wisdom completely outsmart a teenager's boundless energy? Will towering height crush nimble agility? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, guys. Keep your eyes peeled for these incredible outliers when the tournament kicks off, and I will catch you next time.